Last year, a 58-year-old woman walked into an emergency room in Chicago. Her blood pressure was 210 over 130. Her potassium levels had collapsed. Her heart was throwing irregular beats that terrified the cardiologist on duty. He ordered scans for a tumor. He ordered hormone panels. He prepared her for the possibility that something was seriously, permanently wrong. And then a nurse asked one question that changed everything. "Are you taking any herbal supplements?" She was. Every single morning, she brewed 2 cups of licorice root tea because she had read it was good for her adrenals, good for stress, good for her gut. She had been doing it for 3 months. She thought she was being healthy. She was admitted for 4 days. Her symptoms reversed completely once the licorice stopped. No tumor, no hormone disorder, no permanent damage this time. If you're over 50, if you take any herbal supplements, if you drink any kind of herbal tea, what I'm about to share with you could be the most important thing you watch this week, because this is not a rare fringe case. This happens more often than doctors report, and most people, maybe including you right now, have no idea it is happening. The enzyme nobody talks about. Let me explain what is actually happening inside your body when you consume licorice. And I want to be precise here, because most explanations get this slightly wrong. Your kidneys contain a protective enzyme called 11-beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase type 2. I know it is a mouthful. Let's call it the gatekeeper enzyme. Here is what it does. Your stress hormone, cortisol, circulates in your bloodstream at concentrations up to 1,000 times higher than aldosterone. The hormone that controls how much sodium and potassium your kidneys hold on to. Your kidneys have receptors that respond to aldosterone. The problem is that cortisol looks almost identical to aldosterone at those receptors. If cortisol were allowed to flood those kidney receptors unchecked, your body would behave as though your aldosterone was dangerously, catastrophically high. That is where the gatekeeper enzyme comes in. Its entire job is to convert cortisol into an inactive form, cortisone, before it reaches those kidney receptors. It is your body's built-in protection system. It has been protecting you your entire life, quietly, without you ever knowing it existed. Licorice root deactivates this enzyme. The active compound in licorice, glycyrrhizin, directly blocks the gatekeeper enzyme. When that happens, cortisol floods the kidney receptors it was never supposed to reach. Your kidneys begin behaving as though aldosterone is through the roof, even though it is not. And the consequences come fast. Your body starts retaining sodium aggressively. It begins dumping potassium. Your blood pressure rises. Your muscles begin to cramp. And if it goes far enough, your heart starts throwing irregular rhythms, arrhythmias, because the electrical system of the heart depends on stable potassium levels to function correctly. This is not a theoretical risk. This is well-documented physiology. And it is happening in people right now who think they are making a healthy choice. The potassium crisis you already have now here is where it gets serious and personal. Most adults in the Western world are already running low on potassium before they ever touch a licorice supplement. The average adult gets around 2,800 milligrams of potassium per day from food. The adequate intake target set by the U.S. National Academies is 4,700 milligrams. That is a gap of nearly 2,000 milligrams every single day. Stop and think about that for a second. Most of us wake up every morning already behind on one of the most critical minerals for heart function, nerve signaling, and blood pressure regulation, and we stay behind all day. And then we go to sleep and do it again tomorrow. Potassium is not optional. It is a core electrolyte. Without adequate potassium, your heart muscle cannot generate the electrical signals it needs. Your arteries become more sensitive to sodium, meaning blood pressure climbs faster and harder. Your muscles, including the muscle wall of your heart, do not contract and relax correctly. Your body's ability to regulate blood sugar and store energy in the liver is impaired. We evolved in an environment where potassium was abundant and sodium was scarce. Wild plants, fruits, root vegetables, and game animals are all rich in potassium. Our kidneys were designed to conserve sodium because it was hard to find. Today, that equation has completely flipped. We drown in sodium from processed food while barely touching the potassium-dense whole foods our kidneys were built to expect. So, when someone who is already potassium deficient, which is most of us, adds a daily licorice supplement or 2 cups of licorice tea, they are not just staying deficient. They are actively driving their potassium lower. They are taking a gap and turning it into a cliff. That is when things stop being uncomfortable and start becoming dangerous. The 7 groups most at risk. Group 7, people who already have high blood pressure. If your blood pressure is already elevated, you have less room for further increase. Licorice does not add a small, manageable nudge to your blood pressure. In susceptible individuals, it can drive significant and rapid increases, sometimes 20 to 40 points systolic, with consistent daily use over weeks. If you are managing hypertension with medication, licorice can work directly against that medication, making it appear less effective and leading your doctor to adjust your dose unnecessarily. Your blood pressure is already a project. Licorice makes it harder. Group 6, people taking diuretics. Diuretics, water pills, are one of the most commonly prescribed medications for blood pressure and heart conditions in adults over 50. Many of them work in part by increasing potassium loss through the urine. That is an intended side effect that doctors manage carefully. Now add licorice, which drives potassium loss through a completely different mechanism, the kidney receptor pathway. You are now losing potassium through 2 channels simultaneously. This combination can produce severe hypokalemia, dangerously low potassium, faster than either cause alone, muscle weakness, cramping, dangerous heart rhythms. It can happen within weeks. Group 5, people taking corticosteroids like prednisone. Prednisone and other synthetic corticosteroids already drive sodium retention and potassium loss as known side effects. Doctors manage this carefully with dietary advice and sometimes potassium supplementation. Licorice operates on the same system, the mineralocorticoid pathway, and amplifies those effects. Taking prednisone alongside licorice is like pressing 2 accelerators at once. The combined electrolyte disruption can be severe and rapid. If you are on any corticosteroid, licorice of any kind, tea, candy, supplement, warrants a direct conversation with your prescribing doctor before you continue. Group 4, people with kidney disease. Healthy kidneys are remarkably good at compensating for electrolyte disturbances. They can adjust how much potassium they retain or excrete to maintain balance. Kidneys that are already compromised, from diabetes, chronic hypertension, aging, or kidney disease, have lost much of that compensatory capacity. When licorice disrupts the kidney receptor pathway, a compromised kidney cannot compensate effectively. Potassium drops faster. Sodium accumulates more aggressively. Blood pressure responds more dramatically. If your kidney function is impaired at all, even mildly, licorice is not a safe herbal supplement. It is a stressor your kidneys cannot absorb. Group 3, people over 60. Age itself is a risk factor here, independent of any other condition. As we age, kidney efficiency naturally declines. Our hormonal systems become less adaptive. Our electrolyte reserves, including potassium, are more easily destabilized. A 35-year-old with healthy kidneys might use modest amounts of licorice with no noticeable effect. A 65-year-old with the same use pattern may develop measurable blood pressure changes and symptomatic hypokalemia. If you are in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, your threshold for a safe licorice dose is meaningfully lower than it was 20 years ago, and your margin for error is narrower. Group 2, people with heart arrhythmia. History. If you have ever been told you have atrial fibrillation, premature ventricular contractions, long QT syndrome, or any other cardiac rhythm disorder, listen very carefully to this one. Potassium is not optional for a heart that already struggles with rhythm. The electrical system of the heart depends on precise potassium concentrations inside and outside cardiac cells. When potassium drops, those electrical signals become unstable. Arrhythmias that were previously controlled can reemerge. Arrhythmias that were previously mild can become serious. Case reports in cardiology literature document patients with arrhythmia history whose conditions deteriorated significantly with sustained licorice use. This is not a theoretical concern. This is documented harm. Group 1. People who don't know they're consuming it. This is the group that concerns me most. Licorice is not always labeled clearly. It appears in herbal tea blends, particularly adrenal support, stress relief, digestive health, and cortisol balance formulations, without being prominently featured on the front of the packaging. It appears in some traditional medicine preparations. It is in licorice candy, but also in some flavored candies and confections where the connection is not obvious. If you take any herbal supplement, drink any herbal tea blend, or consume any traditional medicine preparation without reading every ingredient, you may be getting licorice without knowing it. This is the most dangerous group because the exposure is invisible and the accumulation is silent. How much is too much? People always ask me, what is the safe amount? And I want to give you an honest answer, not a reassuring one. There is no universal safe threshold. The effect of licorice on blood pressure and potassium follows a dose-response curve, meaning risk increases gradually with dose and accumulates over time. Individual sensitivity varies considerably based on age, kidney function, genetics, and what medications you are taking. That said, here is what the evidence shows. Consuming more than 2 cups of licorice tea per day on a regular basis is sufficient to begin shifting electrolyte balance in many adults, particularly those over 50. And eating around 100 grams of licorice candy per day, that is roughly a large handful, the kind you might absent-mindedly eat while watching television, over a period of 2 weeks has been documented in case reports to produce severe hypokalemia and blood pressure crises requiring hospitalization. The real danger, and this is the part I need you to hear clearly, is not one dose. It is not even 1 week. The real danger is chronic, low-level exposure that builds quietly in the body over weeks and months. People do not feel the accumulation. They feel fine, and then suddenly they do not. By the time symptoms appear, the electrolyte imbalance can already be significant. 1 cup of licorice tea occasionally, for most healthy adults, probably not a major concern. Daily licorice supplementation, daily licorice tea, or regular licorice candy. For adults over 50 or anyone in the risk groups I just described, that is a pattern worth stopping or discussing with your doctor. The misdiagnosis danger. There is one more thing I need to tell you about licorice, something that affects not just your health, but your medical care. The clinical picture that licorice creates, high blood pressure, low potassium, elevated apparent aldosterone activity, is clinically identical to a condition called hyperaldosteronism, which can be caused by an adrenal tumor called Conn's adenoma. When a doctor sees your test results, they are looking at a pattern that says, this patient may have a tumor on their adrenal gland. This has a name in the medical literature, pseudohyperaldosteronism. It is not a tumor. It is not a hormone disorder. It is licorice. But if your doctor does not know you are taking licorice, they cannot make that connection. They will order imaging. They may order adrenal vein sampling, an invasive procedure. They may begin preparing you for a diagnosis that will change your life unnecessarily. This is why one of the most important things you can do at any medical appointment is give your doctor a complete list of everything you are taking, every supplement, every herbal tea, every traditional remedy, every vitamin, not just prescription medications, everything. Your doctor cannot interpret your results correctly without that information. And with that information, what looks like a tumor workup becomes a simple answer. Stop the licorice and recheck in 2 weeks. The DGL solution. Now let me give you something genuinely useful, because licorice, used properly, has real benefits that are well supported by the historical and clinical record. Licorice has been used medicinally for over 3,000 years across ancient Egyptian, Assyrian, Chinese, and Greek medicine. The evidence for its benefits on gut health, peptic ulcers, respiratory inflammation, and immune function is real and substantial. This is not folk myth. This is a medicinal plant with thousands of years of careful use and decades of modern research behind it. The problem is not licorice. The problem is glycyrrhizin, the specific compound that blocks the gatekeeper enzyme and drives the blood pressure and electrolyte effects we have been discussing. Here is the good news. Glycyrrhizin can be removed from licorice root during processing. The result is called DGL, deglycyrrhizinated licorice. DGL retains the anti-inflammatory, gut protective, and immune supportive properties of licorice while eliminating the compound responsible for the cardiovascular and electrolyte risks. DGL is widely available as chewable tablets, capsules, and lozenges. It has a well-established safety profile and is considered safe for regular use at recommended doses, even for adults who would need to avoid standard licorice entirely. If you have been using licorice root for gut health, ulcer relief, or immune support, DGL is the version you should be using, particularly if you are over 50, particularly if you have any of the risk factors we discussed. The one context where DGL may not serve you is if you specifically need the adrenal supportive effects of glycyrrhizin, for example, in cases of documented adrenal insufficiency. If that applies to you, that is a conversation to have with a physician who understands herbal medicine, not something to self-manage with daily licorice tea. Your action protocol. Let me give you a clear, specific protocol you can act on today. Step 1. Audit everything you are taking. Go through every supplement bottle, every herbal tea box, every traditional remedy in your cabinet. Read the ingredient list. Look for licorice root extract, glycyrrhizin, glycyrrhizinic acid, or DGL. Know exactly what is in what you are taking. Step 2, assess your risk category. Go back through the 7 groups I described. Are you over 60? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you on a diuretic or a corticosteroid? Do you have a history of arrhythmia or kidney disease? The more boxes you check, the more seriously you need to take this, and the more urgently you should stop standard licorice root and discuss it with your doctor. Step 3. If you want the benefits, switch to DGL. If you are using licorice for gut health, inflammation, or immune support, replace your current product with a DGL standardized version. Look for products that specifically state deglycyrrhizinated on the label. This is not a workaround. This is the clinically appropriate form for long-term use. Step 4. Prioritize potassium from food. The daily adequate intake is 4,700 milligrams. The most potassium-dense whole foods are dark leafy greens, particularly beet greens and Swiss chard, as well as avocado, cooked white beans, lentils, wild salmon, and sweet potato. These are not exotic foods. They are accessible, affordable, and powerful. Building even 2 or 3 of these into your daily diet will begin to close the potassium gap that most of us are living with. Step 5. Tell your doctor. At your next appointment, bring a full written list of every supplement, tea, and herbal product you use. Do not assume your doctor knows. Do not assume it is irrelevant. Licorice and other herbal products interact with cardiovascular medications, hormone levels, and electrolyte balance in ways that directly affect how your doctor interprets your test results. Give them the information they need to take care of you correctly. You can start all of this today, not next week, today. Your heart has been working for you every single second of your life without ever asking for anything in return. Right now, as you watch this, it is beating. It is regulating pressure, filtering signals, keeping you here. It does not complain. It does not take days off. The least we can do is pay attention to what we are putting into our bodies, not out of fear, but out of respect for the machine that has been running in your chest for 5, 6, 7 decades without stopping. Licorice is not the enemy. Ignorance is. And you are not ignorant anymore. If someone in your life, a parent, a partner, a friend, is taking herbal supplements without knowing this information, share this video with them. You may never know whose hospital stay you prevent. If this video gave you something useful, hit the like button. It helps this information reach people who genuinely need it and may not know to look for it. Every week on this channel, I break down real health topics, the ones that affect adults over 50, with precision and without the noise. Subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. And leave me a comment below. Did you know licorice could do this? I read every one. I want to know what surprised you and what you're going to change. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next one.